for 35 years, I worked in Luton and I worked in both healthcare and in local government. I undertook my master's in public health during that time and completed a module on evaluation and undertook primary research to complete my dissertation. But all through my working life, I was involved in delivering services with external funding, which actually meant that I had to provide evaluation to demonstrate the impact of that funding. I was very involved throughout my working life in really trying to make sure that we could demonstrate the difference we make when we deliver programs and interventions.
That's great. And so what brought you to Herts Welcomes Refugees?
Well, interestingly, I retired in 2021 and I attended the Herts Welcomes Refugees AGM. And on the stage was Irene talking about some national lottery funding that they had, and they were needing to demonstrate to the lottery the difference the funding had made. And I sat in the audience and thought, that's something that I could do. So I contacted Irene, and you could say the rest is history.
Brilliant. And so what are the main projects you've been helping Herts Welcomes Refugees with in evaluating?
Okay, so initially with that national lottery funding, it was really important to demonstrate the impact of that 2-year funding the charity had. So I did a series of case studies where I went out and spoke to both our volunteers, but also some of our asylum seekers and refugees to really hear from them the actual difference the charity had made to their life. And I have to say that was really empowering to listen to those stories and hear about the work goes on and the difference it makes. It is quite incredible. Obviously, sometimes a little bit challenging because of language differences, but actually we got a super selection of case studies which really do demonstrate what goes on within the charity. I also worked with yourself and others, including Annabelle and some of the other people in the charity, to try and collect data so we could create some infographics, some visual representations to demonstrate how much we were doing. So we were trying to demonstrate, for example, how many bikes were given out, how many people had SIM cards, how many children had been given uniforms or shoes, and how many people we'd actually helped. We developed an early ESOL survey, which we tried out in Decorum at one of their ESOL classes. And we used an online tool called Mentimeter, which helped us to, using visual smiley faces, we asked the students to say how much they found the value of the courses they've been on. So that was quite interesting. And similarly, we used an online tool with some of the children at a hotel in Wollongong City because we wanted to find out a little bit more about the homework club that they've been attending. So we again tried that online tool to see if we could create a word cloud. So all of those were included in the report for the lottery. So that was the first work I did. And then since then, I've been collecting further case studies. And I think we could now say we've got a bank of case studies really that demonstrate the work of Herts Welcomes Refugees. And they're really useful to send off to funders so they can actually get a real flavour of the type of work everybody here has been involved in. And I have to say again, and I really mean that, it is a privilege to hear about it, hear about what goes on, and to be able to share those with other people. More recently, I've been working with Alison and Birim on the rollout of our database, which we call Monday.com. That is an online database which we have brought into, and that enables all of our volunteers to record the amount of time they're spending in their work. It also enables us to collect the type of work that they're doing, and that is really powerful data. So since January of this year, we have nearly everybody in the charity using that and completing that activity so that we can collate on a monthly basis the amount of hours that are going on and sort of themes of work that is going on. That makes it much easier for us compared to previously when we come to write reports and make applications for funding. So that's been a really exciting development last year. And another thing which we did last year, which I think was a first for the charity, again, I worked with the volunteer coordinator last year, Rahina and Annabelle, and we developed a volunteer survey. And I think that was a really important development for the charity, because volunteers are key in terms of delivering the services. And if we don't know what the volunteers are thinking or needing, it's difficult for us to develop the charity further. So that was a really important piece of work. And we got a good response rate. About a third of the volunteers responded, which I think is really good. We've reported back on what was found through communication, which we called You Say, We Did, which tells us a little bit about the volunteers wanted to tell us about X, Y, or Z, and then what we've done as a result. So a couple of examples around that. There was a lot of information we received about training needs from that survey. And Annabelle has very kindly now been putting out training dates way in advance of what we used to last year. So we can actually advertise training and market training. People can get those training dates in their diary, which is really important. And we also now do a regular monthly volunteer email, which allows everybody to be up to date with what's going on within the charity. That complements all the other types of communication, but it means once a month after the management meeting, we can actually get information out to our volunteers. So I think that's been really good, and we'll be repeating that this year in the 2025. And again, what I've been working on is developing a more robust ESOL survey, and we've been piloting that over in Decorum. And I think we ran it also this last year in a couple of other areas. But the plan this year, Helen, is to make sure that we roll it out across the whole of the county. So everybody who's delivering English support classes, let's call it that, will ask their students to complete a survey, so we can get better feedback, better sense of the difference we're making to everybody who's attending. And currently I'm working with a couple of trustees to develop some evaluation measures, because we are again putting in an application to the National Lottery, and we need to be very clear about how we're going to measure the impact of that. So that's really the sorts of work I've been involved in. I'm really delighted to say that the trustees, when they've agreed their strategic objectives, and they've been working with an organisation which is known as, it's actually Lloyds Bank, who offering them strategic support, have identified that the evaluation, the monitoring and impact of the work is one of the trustees' priorities. So I'm really delighted to see that.